let's move on quickly to Matt's presentation. What added value you can provide to clinicians based on where the calcium is done today and it's not being used? And Matt has published quite a few papers on this topic. Matt, go ahead.
Yes, I just was going to quickly,
Yeah, this was your presentation.
so these were just my perceptions of some of the issues and what at least the misconceptions are. We talked about radiation. Cost is pretty nominal now, I think, for CT compared to mammography or other testing. We're all familiar with MESA, powerful prognostic value, tenfold increased risk with a score of 100. So CRP, Paul Richter said definitively yesterday in his debate, CRP is a great test because it has a 1.37-fold increased risk of future events, and that's as good as hypertension in predicting future events. So I got up there and said, thank you, Paul, that's great. We're now 10 times better than that with CT. CT is 10 times more valuable in risk prediction than CRP. Is there more we can get out of it? So we've looked at aortic valve calcium as an extreme example, but aortic valve calcium, this is a this is a different study, but has some incremental predictive value. If we look at MESA, it's 1.5-fold increased risk for having aortic valve calcium on top of things like coronary calcium. If you fully adjust everything, it's 2.5-fold increased risk. So the incremental value of aortic valve calcium is twice as valuable as knowing a CRP. So just think of calcium being the beginning, aortic valve calcium adding to that. We add to that further with thoracic calcium. Thoracic calcium, this is Karam Nasir's work, is even more incrementally predictive and maybe twofold predictive of future events. And then finally, Elizabeth Brown published some data out of MESA that if you look at the coronary calcium coverage score, you get even more information. So the score itself may not be a good descriptor. In other words, the distribution of calcium, the number of vessels, or even the number of lesions may predict. I think the coronary calcium coverage score is impractical and will never be used, but the concept is a good one. How much of the coronaries are covered with calcium, or how many lesions are there, or how many coronary arteries are covered? Leslie Shaw, we showed prognostic data. Leslie Shaw simply showed that if you look at the number of lesions, you get incremental value. So I think more lesions, so the same score of 100, if you had 22 lesions in the coronary tree, that's much worse than a score of 100 with one lesion. So just to sum up, we have a lot of incremental data that adds. Finally, mitral annular calcium may also add. So that's
Thanks,
it.
Matt. So this is not available technically or practically for practitioners, but that's something that could come in and provide an incremental value to just regular coronary calcium that's being done. You don't need to do
It's already on the scan.
So no extra radiation, no extra time, no nothing. It's just the same image.
Make note of it.
So you're just using some software to add probably reading.
And it might even be qualitative. You just say, oh, I see aortic valve calcium, your risk is higher. I see thoracic calcium, your risk is higher. It could be simpler than that.
Okay, thank you, Matt. We'll move on to Harvey's presentation.